The importance of an emergency fund. An emergency fund is a sum of money set aside specifically for unexpected expenses or financial emergencies. It is an important component of personal financial planning that can provide a safety net and peace of mind in case of unexpected events. What is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a sum of money that is set aside specifically for unexpected expenses or financial emergencies. It is meant to be a financial cushion that can be used to cover unexpected expenses, such as a car repair, medical bill, or job loss. Why do you need an emergency fund? There are several reasons why you may need an emergency fund. 1. Unexpected expenses. An emergency fund can help cover unexpected expenses, such as a car repair or medical bill, that may not be covered by your insurance. 2. Job loss. If you lose your job, an emergency fund can help cover your basic living expenses until you are able to find new employment. 3. Natural disasters. An emergency fund can be a valuable resource in the event of a natural disaster, such as a hurricane or earthquake, which can cause significant damage to your home or property. How much should you have in your emergency fund? The amount of money you should have in your emergency fund will depend on your personal circumstances, such as your income, debts, and living expenses. A general rule of thumb is to have at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved in your emergency fund. For example, if your monthly living expenses are $3,000, you should aim to have at least $9,000 to $18,000 in your emergency fund. Where should you keep your emergency fund? It is important to keep your emergency fund in a safe and easily accessible place, such as a high-yield savings account. Avoid keeping it in a place where you may be tempted to spend it, such as a checking account or under your mattress. How to build your emergency fund. Here are some tips for building your emergency fund. 1. Set a goal. Determine how much money you want to save in your emergency fund and make a plan to achieve that goal. 2. Cut expenses. Look for ways to cut expenses, such as by cooking at home instead of eating out or canceling subscription services you no longer use. 3. Increase income. Look for ways to increase your income, such as by asking for a raise at work or taking on a side hustle. 4. Automate savings. Consider setting up automatic transfers from your checking account to your emergency fund so that you can save money without having to think about it. Using your emergency fund. We'll get to that in a second. I have a favor to ask of you. If you like the video so far, please subscribe to the channel. When and how it is important to use your emergency fund only for true emergencies, such as unexpected medical bills or a job loss. Avoid using it for non-emergency expenses, such as a vacation or a new piece of furniture. When you do need to use your emergency fund, be sure to replace the money you have used as soon as possible so that you can continue to have a financial cushion in case of future emergencies. The consequences of not having an emergency fund can leave you vulnerable to financial emergencies. If you do not have an emergency fund and an unexpected expense arises, you may have to turn to credit cards or loans to cover the cost. This can lead to high-interest debt and financial stress. Tips for maintaining your emergency fund. Here are some tips for maintaining your emergency fund. 1. Review your budget regularly. Make sure you are still saving enough money to meet your emergency fund goal. 2. Keep it in a separate account. Keep your emergency fund in a separate account from your checking and savings accounts to avoid spending it on non-emergency expenses. 3. Make it a priority. Make saving for your emergency fund a priority, especially when you have extra money. 4. Update it as needed. As your financial situation changes, make sure to adjust your emergency fund goal accordingly. For example, if you have a new baby or take on a mortgage, you may need to increase your emergency fund to cover additional expenses. The peace of mind that comes with an emergency fund. Having an emergency fund can provide peace of mind, knowing that you have a financial cushion to fall back on in case of unexpected expenses or emergencies. It can also help you avoid turning to high-interest debt or loans to cover unexpected costs. Building and maintaining an emergency fund is an important part of personal financial planning that can provide financial stability and security.